But to get a little nostalgic for a second, Jed, and I will start with you, we're looking back at 10 years in this building, right? Tremendous success by the team. They are 6-0 in the postseason right here at Levi Stadium. As you reflect back, what are some of the best memories you've had, and what makes you excited for what's to come with this team?
I mean, it's hard to think that we've only been here 10 years, right? Like, I feel like we worked on getting the stadium much longer than the stadium's actually been around. But it's a testament to everything that really has happened in this building. And, you know, year one, right, people miss Candlestick, right? You're building, you know, new memories and new ways to experience. And I feel like we finally have gotten it to a place where I think this is hands down the best home field in the NFL, right? We have the best fans that come here, but people know how to experience Levi Stadium today much better than they did 10 years ago. And honestly, every time that I come here, it feels special. And you know, there's nothing that I would change about what we've been able to build and accomplish right here at Levi Stadium.
6-0 in this stadium's postseason history, 2-0 in the NFC Championship game. Green Bay a few years ago, Mostarati, 220 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then, how many were here for the Lions game this year? Ooh. One of the greatest games ever played. So I'm going to go in the owner's suite at halftime. 24/7 Lions. You're playing catch with your son? I'm going to go into your suite in a minute. Well, you were playing catch with your son at halftime?
Yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things where you're in the moment, and whether you want it to be 24/7 or not, like it is. And, you know, you're trying to not have your kids melt down, and, you know, and it was, you know, just trying to relax and enjoy the fact that we're here in the NFC Championship game. And Joe Montana was in our suite, and they asked Joe about it, and he's like, I think we're going to win. Like, I think we're going to calm down. I think Brock is going to come out and play a hell of a second half. And he's like, you know, we've got it. And like, but that's the type of feeling that I think we all have, right? We believe in Kyle. We believe in our players. We believe in the team. And, you know, I don't know that anybody was going to make the largest wager in their life that we were going to win the game, right? But like, there's a belief that we have a chance in any game that we play that we can go out and win. And it's a testament to the hard work, you know, not halftime adjustments, but what starts from the work that they did today on the field, right? That translates into that second half. And it's a testament to these guys.
What was halftime like in the locker room?
Oh, boy.
Kyle?
I felt like Joe. I was chilling. I was relaxed. I knew we were going to win. No, I was. You did. I was.
Were you down there too?
Totally kidding. I was so angry. I couldn't think about winning or losing. That wasn't the thing. It was like, guys, I don't care. If we're going out, we're not going out like this.
Right.
Like, when we come out, like, hey, we're going to make this a problem. And you don't think about, like, hey, how many points? It's just like, this isn't acceptable. And we got to change this. And everyone felt that way. So everyone was kind of embarrassed and pissed, and there wasn't a lot of talk. It was an energy like, thank God we got 30 more minutes, because after 30 more minutes, it's over. And so let's get this all out right now.
I remember seeing Debo on the sideline come up to you and get in your ear a little bit about coming. And then you got the ball right away to start, and it was on. So what was it like for you at halftime of that game, John?
I wasn't as cool as Joe, I can tell you that. You know, Kyle will tell you, I'm an eternal optimist, so I'm always optimistic. I was not optimistic right then. It just, it did not seem like it was our game. And I'll tell you, it was the first game in my tenure here that I went down to the locker room at halftime. I don't know what the hell for, but I felt compelled to go down. And I felt so much better, like Kyle talked about. I felt the energy in that locker room. I was sitting in with the equipment, man, and I'm just listening, and I could see Debo over there, and I saw Debo just like breathing hard, and Debo looked at me and he said, "Tell him to get me the ball." And,
is that what he told you on
I'm
the
sure
side?
there were more words than that.
I never told him.
Debo told him.
How about you tell him? Or better yet, show him. And
Don't need to be told.
Yes.
Right.
It's very obvious.
And it was on. It was on, and that was a fun one.
When you look ahead now, no rest for the weary, that's for sure, because this season you guys will face 8 teams that were in the post last year. When you think about Brock, for example, and you mentioned him coming back and rising to the occasion, we've seen him do that time and time again, fully healthy this offseason. What do you see in his development and how he has really emerged just as a true quarterback and leader for this team?
I remember last year, everyone asked me about Brock, and I said a sentence just reacting, not thinking about it. I'm like, no, we're good with Brock. He's the real deal. And then everyone repeated, Kyle says, Brock's the real deal. And like they went huge, and I'm like, man, that does sound like a big statement. But it was, what I meant was like we just hung out and went through a lot of stuff with Brock, and we got to see who he is. Like everyone gets to see the type of player he is, but we got to go through practice, through games. I mean, he was awesome in practice, and he's a third-string quarterback, just gets thrown into games, and he's the same way in these games that he was in practice, and each game gets bigger and bigger, and he didn't lose his rookie year. He got us an NFC championship. So you see all these things about his character and who he is. We all know his tape's good, and then he has such a horrible injury, and he's got to come back in then this year where it's like, man, we saw in 7 games, like that was pretty genuine, just what we saw on film and the person he is, and then this year it got even doubled, and it's like my experience with players is, I mean, you see the film, you know a guy can play, but like, what are they made of? And like Brock's as genuine of a person as I've been around. And when you have someone who's got like that, such a solid foundation of who they are as a man, like what they want in life, like Brock is a really good person who is totally dedicated to his job and his craft and being the best at it. And he's extremely talented at it. So like whatever Brock goes through, he gets stronger, good or bad. Like, and now I look back on it, and even though I didn't play him, I'm like, he is the real deal. No. Like, it's just genuine as a person, and it's genuine as you guys see on tape. And when those two go together, just put good people around him that are like-minded, and usually good things happen.
He's literally grown before your eyes, from third-string quarterback to starting quarterback, now married man. I mean, the whole evolution, both on the field and off, has been pretty cool, huh, Papa?
Without a doubt. Talk about the offseason, free agency, and the draft.
Yeah, I think you always hear people say that we're really excited about our team. I think the hardest thing when you've established what we've established in terms of our roster building is how do you improve upon that after a tough loss in the ultimate game? How do you regroup and start to assess, okay, where are we going from here? And, I think you hit it, Pops. The first order of business, where we were going to be picking, you're always looking and saying, Kyle and I often say, if they had this thing right, we would do the draft first and then do free agency, but that's not the way it works. You do
NBA does that.
First. Yeah.
Right, that'd be
and then you kind of plug in the holes in the draft, which is really your lifeblood. But the thing we knew, we needed to rework our defensive line, and we wanted to have some stability, because we have excellent high-paid players that Jed has blessed us with the opportunity to have, the Nick Bosa's, the Javon Hargraves. We've supplemented it with a lot of guys on one-year contracts, and we've had a great story to tell them. Look at all the guys who've taken a chance with us on a one-year deal, and it's turned into a big-time lucrative deal for them elsewhere. But this year, we wanted some stability. So you go find a Leonard Floyd, an established vet, a presence on the opposite side of Bosa, a Yetur Gross-Matos, who was, really a guy out there that we really got a consensus and felt great about him. And being able to add a guy like that for 2 years. And on the inside, a Jordan Elliott and a Malik Collins via trade, we reworked our defensive line. And you're always looking at the draft. And the draft, where we were picking, and then just the quality of the class, the D-line wasn't great. So I think we started there in free agency, added some other things, and Isaac Yiadom, probably an underrated. We really think he's going to be a good player for us, add depth at a real important position. And then you go into the draft, and when you're picking 31st, it's a good thing because it means you played well. We'd rather be picking 32nd, but if you're picking 31st, you got to kind of let things come to you. A draft breaks out, and you gotta do your homework such that you're ready. And we're thrilled with the guys we've added. I won't get into each draft pick. What I'll say is collectively, we've really enjoyed working with these young men. They're workers. We love the talent. We love the fit. And we're excited about our group moving forward.
I'd love to piggyback off of that because this is the 8th year of this, what I like to call the football bromance, this partnership here, the two of you, really building this team to be successful year after year. How do you find, and I'll start with you, John, you can piggyback, how do you find that your strategy or your approach has evolved since then, since you started?
Well, things always evolve. I mean, a guy Kyle worked for and I played for, a guy named John Gruden used to have a saying, I don't know if he made it up, but you never stay the same. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. And so we kind of adhere to the idea of getting better. And it gets tougher and tougher to do when you establish a really good team. But I think it starts with the standard that Kyle's done such a great job of leading our organization that really Jed establishes from the top on down with his family, their commitment to winning and the type of people we want to surround ourselves with. I'll never forget, we went to meet Kyle, who was still working for the Falcons, getting ready for a Super Bowl. And Jed asked the question about culture. And the moment I kind of knew, I was intrigued by Kyle. I had played for his dad, but Jed asked the question, tell me about culture. How do you establish it? And Kyle said something real simple, you know, that was so profound, is culture's the people you surround yourself with. And that just spoke to me, because that's what I believe in. You surround yourself with good people who are driven and like-minded, you're going to do great things. And that's what we've set out to do, and we try to add to that every year. We refine our processes. We've had a lot of people picked away from us, Kyle's coaching staff, guys like Adam Peters and Martin Mayhew and Rand Carthon. We're proud of that. But there's also opportunity in that. You bring in fresh mind, ideas and things, and we try to always be getting better. That doesn't, but we always try to get better.
You're a broadcaster at one
yeah,
point.
I was. It's fun. I think we challenge each other in the process, and hopefully it gets better each year.
Love that. What about for you, Kyle?
You want to be trying to compete every year, and that's really tough. So, you got to have the team. You got to do it all the right way. And I think the best, like John, we came here because Jed said he wanted to compete every year, and he wanted that type of organization. And a lot of people talk like that, but I promise not all 32 teams are that way.
Right.
We all have rules. We all have salary caps and stuff you got to go by. But when we looked at it, we had to ask Jed, can you be patient, please? Because it might take a couple years. But what's been cool is, my dad used to say this all the time. He's like, all you want is a chance.
Yeah.
And there's not 32 teams who have a chance. And we feel each season, it took us a couple years to draft right and everyone to be on the same page and to try to build it. But we feel like we got a chance every year. We're not taking years off. You can't, as people say, you're going for it every year. We are going for it every year. That doesn't mean you can't be irresponsible and just trade draft picks away and just spend money, because that'll catch up with you the following year. So every decision we make is always about going for it, but also not trying to screw us for the next year. So it took us 2 years to kind of get it there. And I feel for 6 years in a row, every season we've gone in, and I feel like we have a chance. And that's exactly what we want. And you want that, you like that because of certain things and stuff, but no matter what happens, coaches you lose, players you lose. If you're doing the cycle right and you're doing things the right way and you have some luck, you don't have bad luck with injuries and stuff, you always have a chance to get to that tournament. And if you can get in the playoffs, then you never know what's going to happen.
That's it.
When this franchise was winning every year, they had two Hall of Famers, Coach Walsh and John McVay, the former coach. Did you ever imagine when you put these two guys together it would last, kind of a Walsh-McVay length, Jed?
I've done more coaching searches than I'd like to admit. But that's always my thought process is I want somebody that's going to be here for a long time. You look at the teams that are successful, and you talk about the teams that compete year in and year out. Baltimore's in it year in and year out. They've had the same people for a long time. Pittsburgh, you look at those clubs.
Kansas
New
City.
England for a long time. Now Kansas City, right? There's a reason why teams that have a great coach and a great general manager and they have a great thing going, they have a chance. You have to get in, and it's very, very hard to start anew, right? It's very hard to bring in a new group of people, try to change a culture, and get your set of 53 players in versus somebody else's. And that's what I love about just watching this draft class, this offseason, this process. We have some really, really talented top-line players. But we were able to add people in the draft and in free agency that are not just good football players, but they're good fits to our team. And that's what you need. And I think we have guys that have more than enough ability, but we are always looking for guys that are dependable. Because when you get into a game, when you're down big on your home field in the NFC Championship game, if you have talented players that aren't dependable, you're going to crack. 100% you're going to crack. We have guys that are willing to fight until the end, regardless of what the situation is. And that starts with these guys, and that's what gives us a chance to go compete for it and hopefully win it this year.
The continuity in our own division with Les Snead and Coach McVay. And Seattle had it going on for a long time, obviously. Pete Carroll's no longer the coach, and this offseason you brought in somebody who was on his staff for a long time. We're going to bring out the ball father in a little bit here, along with Chris Verster. And Brian Schneider, but your new defensive coordinator, Nick Sorensen, Kyle. Why was he the right choice?
Well, I think no matter what you go through on a staff, you're trying to create. Everyone's a product of their environment, and Nick's history really is similar to ours. You know, I mean, John played at Tampa Bay with Monty Kiffin. That's where I started coaching. Just the defense in there that I started out my career with, that he played in, was just a very sound Tampa 2 3D man-free system, 4-man rush. Not a lot of stuff, but the principles of it are very similar. And so I had a huge history kind of how we look at defense and just philosophy-wise. And then getting him here for these 2 years we've had him, I've got a chance to get close with him. Everyone on our staff has. I bet you there's not a player or coach in there, anyone in our building, that probably has there's no one who has a bad opinion or something bad to say about Nick. Nick gets along with everyone. He's very well respected, which is always great for a building, but you also got to be talented and good. And Nick gets in front of our team once a week. That's why you call him the ball father, and so do we. And he gravitates our team as good as anyone. I mean, he does it every Thursday. We've had a number of guys go through this. Some guys we've had to change, and it's been awkward. But Nick, we've never had to. He had 32 chances to do it. Well, we play 17 games now, so I guess 34. And he never got benched. He got better and better each one, and our team loved him at it. And you watch his history, how he played, where he's from, how he's been here for these 2 years. He knows what we want, not just because he's listening, because he believes it. And he's also gotten to relate to everyone where the guys were pumped when I told them that's what the direction we're going.